The average Canadian works for over 40 years, retires at 65, and lives to about 82. Do the math. 40 years of work for 17 years of freedom. 17 years. And honestly, the first few of those, most people spend just recovering from the last 40. That trade is brutal, and almost nobody questions it. But here's what changed everything for me. There isn't one way out of that deal. There are eight. Eight different strategies to retire 10, 15, even 20 years early. And one of them, it's actually easier to pull off in Canada than almost anywhere else on the planet. Most Canadians have no idea. That one's strategy 7. Remember it. But there's also a trap, a uniquely Canadian one. It quietly forces early retirees back to work every single year. That's Chapter 8, and skipping it could cost you 6 figures. So grab your coffee. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which of these 8 paths fits your income, your lifestyle, and your timeline. Let's find yours. Hey, I'm Jay, and this is the Maple Finance. So here's the plan. I'm walking you through all 8 early retirement strategies, ranked, explained, and translated into Canadian. You're getting 4 things: your exact retire early number, the strategy menu from frugal to luxury, the Canadian cheat code from door 7, and that 6-figure trap, plus how to dodge it. And look, this isn't just for high earners. 2 of these strategies work on a completely average Canadian salary. One of them barely requires saving more than you already do. Quick housekeeping before someone's lawyer emails me. This is not financial advice, it's financial education. Always do your own research before moving your money. Cool? Cool. All right, before we open a single door, you need one number, because every strategy in this video, all 8, starts from the exact same question. What's your freedom number? Quick test. How much money do you actually need to never work again? Most people either guess way too low or so high they give up before starting. Both answers keep you stuck. Here's the twist. Your number has nothing to do with your income. It's built entirely on what you spent. Rent, groceries, and yes, those grocery bills lately. Everything added up for 1 year. Now the magic formula. Take your yearly spending and multiply it by 25. That's it. That's your freedom number. Yearly expenses times 25. Burn that into your brain. So say your life costs $50,000 a year. Times 25, that's 1.25 million. Sounds scary, I know, but stick with me because how fast you get there is about to surprise you. Why 25? Because of the 4% rule. Invested properly, your pile grows fast enough that you can pull out 4% every year, basically forever. The tree keeps growing while you pick the fruit. One honest caveat. That rule was built for a 30-year retirement. Retiring at 45 means your money works way longer, so early retirees pad it. Think closer to 28 times expenses. Safer math, better sleep. Now, here's what nobody tells you. The speed you retire at isn't controlled by your salary. It's controlled by one lever, your savings rate, the percentage of income you keep. This lever is everything. Save 10% of your income, you'll work about 50 years. Save half, you're free in roughly 17. 17! Same salary, same job, completely different life. Let that sink in for a second. Where does the money live? 3 homes. The green jar, your TFSA, totally tax-free. The red vault, your RRSP, tax-deferred. The blue safe, your FHSA. But the order you use them in retirement, that's where the clawback trap hides. Chapter 8. Remember that word, clawback. Okay, you've got your number. Now all 8 doors lead to freedom. They just change how big that number is and how fast you reach it. Door 1 has the smallest number of all. Let's open it. Strategy 1. Lean fire. The idea is simple. Shrink your lifestyle, shrink your number, escape decades earlier. Less stuff, less spending, and way less time owed to a job. By the way, if you just landed here, welcome. We're ranking every single way to retire early in Canada. The rule so far, your yearly spending times 25 equals freedom. Door 1 makes that number tiny. Watch the math. Live on 30,000 a year instead of 50, and your freedom number drops from 1.25 million to 750,000. That's $500,000 less, just from lifestyle design. How do people actually pull this off? A modest paid-off home, one car, or honestly, a bike. Cooking instead of ordering, a garden instead of a gym membership. Small life, huge freedom. Who's this for? People who already feel rich with less. If trading the mall for a canoe and a paddle sounds like winning, not sacrifice, Lean Fire might genuinely be your fastest door out. And here's the Canadian power move: geography. The same savings that barely rent a condo in Toronto or Vancouver can buy a whole house outright in hundreds of smaller Canadian towns. Move once, retire a decade sooner. But I owe you the honest downside. Lean Fire runs thin. One rough market year, one surprise expense, one kid on the way, and a tight budget becomes a stressful one. There's not much cushion in this cabin. So what if budgeting forever sounds like a prison sentence? What if you want the escape and the lifestyle? Travel, dinners out, the cottage? Well, Door 2 exists, and its number will make you sweat. Strategy 2, Fat Fire. Same escape, opposite philosophy. You don't shrink your lifestyle to quit early. You build a pile so big you never have to shrink anything, ever. Now the math gets spicy. 100,000 a year without working times 25. That's 2.5 million. Padded for a long retirement, closer to 2.8. Yeah, told you you'd sweat. But look what that buys. Winters somewhere warm, dinners you don't calculate first, season tickets, the grandkids' education handled. Fat Fire isn't about money, it's about never hearing the word budget again. Who actually gets there? Usually 3 lanes: 2 strong income stacking savings, a business that sells, or stock compensation that compounds. And no, the 649 is not a 4th lane. All 3 demand a brutal savings rate held for years. The Canadian play here: max the green jar and the red vault every single year. At high income, every RRSP dollar also shrinks your tax bill today. Then the overflow spills into a regular investing account. 3 buckets, all working. Now the honest part. Fat Fire has a paradox. The lifestyle you're protecting keeps inflating the number you're chasing. Plenty of people chase it right into their late 50s, which is just called retirement. So who's this really for? High earners who genuinely like their work. If your career energizes you, staying a few extra years for a padded, luxurious exit is a fair trade. If it drains you, keep watching. Wait, before you close this video thinking early retirement is for trust fund kids and tech salaries, stop. Door 3 was built for regular paychecks. And remember when I said one strategy barely requires saving more than you already do? That's this one. Strategy 3, Coast Fire. And this one's my favorite piece of financial engineering. The idea: save hard, brutally hard, but only for a short window. Then you stop completely, and you still retire wealthy. Here's the physics. Invested money roughly doubles every decade. So the dollars you invest at 25 don't add up. They multiply. Get enough fuel in early, cut the engine, and momentum does the rest. Real numbers. Say you're 25, and for 10 years you stuff your green jar hard. Call it 150,000 invested by 35. Painful decade? Absolutely. Now watch what happens next. You never save another dollar. Not one. That 150 grows to 300,000 by 45, 600 by 55, 1.2 million by 65. You did all the work in your 20s. And here's what coasting actually feels like. From 35 on, your entire paycheck is yours. The nicer place, the trips, daycare. Because your retirement isn't a monthly bill anymore. It's already airborne. There's a hidden superpower here too. Once retirement's handled, your career unclenches. Take the risky startup job. Teach. Go part-time when the kids are small. Coast Fire doesn't just buy retirement. It buys nerve. Quick reset if you're just joining. We're touring every single early retirement strategy in Canada, easiest to wildest. This one, Coast Fire, is the one built for normal salaries. And honestly, for most people watching, it's the answer. The Canadian execution. Green jar first. Every dollar of growth in your TFSA compounds completely tax-free for decades, and you can touch it anytime if life happens. Then the Red Vault. That order matters, and Chapter 8 shows you exactly why. The honest catch. This strategy is fueled by youth. Start at 25, it's magic. Start at 45, the math gets heavy. And those early saving years, genuinely hard. You're grinding while friends are spending. But Coastfire has one catch nobody escapes. You're still clocking in until your 60s, just lighter. So what if you want out at 45 without the full pile? That's doors 4 through 7. And door 7, that's where Canada breaks the game.
All right, speed round. Doors 4, 5, and 6 are hybrids, mix and match versions of what you've already learned. 20 seconds each. Ready? Clock's running. Door 4, Chubby Fire, the Goldilocks option. More cushion than lean, way less brutal than fat. Think comfortable middle class forever without a job. A common target? Around 1.5 to 2 million. Next door. Door 5, Slow Fi. No dramatic exit date. You just turn work down like a dimmer. 5 days becomes 4, becomes 3 as your investments grow. Retirement arrives so gradually you barely notice the finish line. Next, door 6, Cashflow Fi. Forget the giant pile, build income streams instead. A rental suite, dividend stocks, a small side business. When the monthly taps cover the monthly bills, you're done. No pile required. Okay, speed round over, because this next one deserves your full attention. Door 7, the one I promised you in the first 60 seconds. The strategy that's easier in Canada than almost anywhere on Earth. Strategy 7, Barista Fire. Here's the play. You retire from your career decades early, but keep a little part-time work you actually enjoy. That income covers part of your bills. Your investments cover the rest. Watch what this does to your number. Life costs $50,000. Part-time work brings in $25,000. Now your investments only need to cover the other half, so your target crashes from $1.25 million to just over $600,000. Half gone. Now, why did Americans invent this strategy? One word: healthcare. Down south, insurance is chained to your employer. Millions of Americans work part-time jobs purely to keep coverage. It's the single biggest wall between them and early retirement. But you live in Canada. That wall, it doesn't exist here. Your healthcare isn't tied to any job, which means the hardest part of Barista Fire, the reason it's scary everywhere else, is already solved for you. You were born with the cheat code. And no, it doesn't have to be literally pulling double-doubles at Tim's, though hey, no judgment. Seasonal park work, a few consulting days a month, the bookstore, the marina. The point is, work becomes something you choose, not something you owe. The honest catch? You're still a little tied to work, and a long income gap can sting. But hold on, there's one final door. Because what if the cheapest way to retire early in Canada is to not retire in Canada at all?
Strategy 8. Expat Fire, the final door. You keep your Canadian savings, but spend them somewhere your dollar hits twice as hard. Portugal, Mexico, Thailand. Same jar, double the life. The math is wild. A $50,000 Canadian lifestyle often costs $25,000 in these places. So your freedom number melts from $1.25 million to about $625,000. I made a whole video on retiring abroad. Link below. The catch, leaving has a price. The CRA charges a departure tax on your way out, and grandma's Sunday dinners get a lot further away. But here's the thing. All 8 of these doors, every single one, shares this same giant Canadian problem, and nobody talks about it.
Here it is, the problem every early retirement video skips. You retire at 45, but CPP doesn't start until 60 at the earliest. Old age security? 65. Look at that gap. 15 to 20 years with zero government support.
And this canyon is exactly where early retirements die. People nail the saving part, quit at 45, then bleed their accounts dry in the wrong order, pay taxes they never needed to pay, and crawl back to work at 55. Just tuning in? Rewind. We covered all 8 ways Canadians retire early. This part applies to every single one of them, because knowing how to build the pile is half the game. Spending it in the right order, that's the other half. So how do you cross? Plank 1. The green jar, your TFSA. Here's its superpower. Withdrawals are completely invisible to the taxman. Not taxed, not even counted as income. You can pull $50,000 a year and the CRA sees nothing. And that invisibility unlocks everything. On paper, your income looks tiny, even while you're living comfortably. Low paper income means you keep income-tested benefits, and it sets up the smartest tax move in Canadian retirement. Watch this. Plank 2. The RRSP meltdown. Remember, you got tax refunds putting money in the vault at your peak salary. Now, with near zero income, you pull it out at the lowest tax rates of your entire life. In at 40%, out at 15%. That spread is pure profit. Timing matters here. Melt that vault down through your 50s. Because at 71, the government forces the vault open. Mandatory minimum withdrawals, whether you want them or not. A fat vault at 71 becomes a fat taxable income. And that triggers the trap. There it is, the word I told you to remember. The clawback. Once your yearly income crosses roughly $95,000, the government claws back your old age security. 15 cents for every extra dollar. Cross 155,000 and your OAS vanishes entirely. Added up over a 20-year retirement, lost OAS, unnecessary tax, forced withdrawals at peak rates, and bad sequencing quietly costs 6 figures. That's the number I promised you in the first minute. Same savings, same 8 strategies, just the wrong order. So here's the crossing order. Green jar bridges the gap. Red vault melts down in the low-income years. And those government chests? Sometimes waiting even longer makes them permanently bigger. I broke down that exact math in my CPP timing video. Links below. You've got the strategies, you've got the crossing order. But I've watched people have all of that and still get dragged back to work. 5 mistakes do the dragging, and I'd bet money someone in this comment section is making number 3 right now. These 5 mistakes drag more early retirees back to their desks than any market crash. Each one is invisible while you're making it, and obvious the year it ruins you. So let's name them one by one and lock every single one out. Mistake 1. Saving everything in the red vault. The RRSP feels great going in. Hello, refunds. But every dollar coming out is taxable income. Retire on a vault-only portfolio and there's nowhere to hide. Your bridge years need that green jar. Build both. Mistake 2. Withdrawing on autopilot. Pulling the same amount the same way every year without watching where your taxable income lands. Drift across the wrong line and the clawback quietly starts eating your benefits. Check the thresholds every single year. Mistake 3, and yes, comment section, this is the one I called out, planning a 40-year retirement in today's dollars. At normal inflation, prices roughly double every 25 years. Your $50,000 lifestyle, it'll cost $100,000 later. Plan for that number. Mistake 4 is the sneakiest, sequence of returns. 2 retirees, identical savings, identical average returns. One retires into a bull market, the other into a crash. 20 years later, one's rich, one's broke. The order of your returns matters most in year 1. The defense, a cash cushion. 1 to 2 years of expenses parked in boring high-interest savings. Markets crash, you spend the cushion and touch nothing while your investments heal. It feels lazy holding that much cash. It's actually armor. Mistake 5. The rigid plan. No plan B. Real retirements bend. Markets dip, roofs leak, parents need help. The winners build bend into the plan. Spending they can trim. A barista-style fallback. 1 year's delay if needed. Rigid plans snap. Flexible ones survive. And that's it. All 5 locked out. So now you're standing where I hoped you'd be 20 minutes ago. 8 open doors, a crossing plan, and 0 excuses, which leaves exactly one question. Which door is yours? All right, let's find your door in 60 seconds. No spreadsheets, just honest answers. I'll walk you down the flowchart, you keep score at home. Ready? First fork in the road. Fork 1, lifestyle. If a small, simple, paid-off life already sounds like winning, door 1, lean, is your fast lane. If you're a high earner who wants the escape without giving up a thing, door 2, fat, or its friendlier cousin, chubby. Fork 2, your timeline. 20s or 30s on a normal salary, coast fire. Front load now, thank yourself forever. Want out the absolute soonest and don't mind a little enjoyable work? Barista. Remember, in Canada, that door's already half open. Last fork, the specialists. Hate hard deadlines? Slow-fi. Dim the job gradually. Own a rental or a side business? Cashflow-fi. Let the taps run. And if your heart's already somewhere sunny, Expat fire. Just don't forget that departure tax. So, here's your homework, and I read every one of these. Drop 2 things in the comments, your province and your door. Because between provincial tax rates and benefits, your province genuinely changes this math. And I'll tell you what yours might be missing. If this video moved your freedom date even 1 year closer, the subscribe button is how you tip me. And your very next move? That CPP timing video on your screen right now. Because when you take it can be worth tens of thousands. See you in that one.